Welcome back, everyone, for part two. It's your travel friend, Herman. And in this video, I'm going to be going over some of the sites in the city of Istanbul that have to do more specifically with the Roman Empire era. So let's get started. The first obvious stop is probably the most prominent features of the city, which is the Hagia Sophia. This one was built in the 6th century during the reign of Emperor Justinian I, and is essentially the epitome of the Eastern Roman architecture during that time. And though the Hagia Sophia is no longer a church, it's actually now a mosque, most of the architecture was kept intact, with, of course, the notable exceptions being the 4 minarets that you will see outside very prominently, and these were added after the fall of Constantinople during the Ottoman period. And upon walking in, you can almost immediately feel that the building is almost 1,500 years old.
This is actually the inside of the main part of the Hagia Sophia.
And in that main part, you do have to take your shoes off since it is the main area of the mosque of Hagia Sophia. The Hagia Sophia ultimately is the best example of the two histories of the city, of both its Roman and Turkish, and Christian and Muslim.
And I like how you still see the angels and some of the Roman era frescoes, despite it being a mosque now. So the same architecture was kept, wasn't torn down or anything.
And just like how I said it in my first video, make sure you also come at dusk because the building will turn into a nice red color on the outside. The next stop was the 4th century church, the Hagia Irene.
This is the Hagia Irene from the outside. Very similar to the Hagia Sophia.
Even though the Hagia Irene was never converted into a mosque like the Hagia Sophia, it was used for many other purposes, including at one point an arsenal. But similarly, you feel the age of the building as soon as you walk in and start walking around, and it's undergoing a lot of restoration.
It's almost like a mini, older Hagia Sophia. Cool. Unlike the other ones, this one definitely doesn't have any of the frescoes left anymore. As you can see, it's all gone.
The next stop is an actual popular attraction, but is one that's easy to miss, and this is the Basilica Cisterns, which were basically water tanks and water storage facilities built during the 6th century, also under Roman Emperor Justinian I.
They were certainly here since the Roman Empire. Well before the city really started growing. That's one of the things that was needed is this. Change color. As you can see, the light show brought to you by Modern Light, and then the cistern brought to you by Emperor Justinian in the 6th century. Magnificent, I love it. It's really, really cool. Imagine this all filled with water way up higher. Basically what it would be, but yeah. But you can still see all the water there.
And even if you're not a history buff, I think you can still enjoy it, even just for the fact that you have a really good light show and can take some really good pictures for your social media. And the next stop is the Theodosian walls of Constantinople that defended the city for over 1,000 years.
I'm here at the Theodosian walls of Constantinople. Even though it's not an actual museum, but some of these parts of the walls were reconstructed later. But these are the ones, especially if you ever played a game like Age of Empires 2. Like, I don't play video games, but that's one that I used to play. It was because of the walls that it made capturing Constantinople almost impossible, because the walls were impregnable, and that's how it was for most of its history until it fell to the Ottoman Empire in 1453, because they used their large bombard cannons to knock down the walls and capture the city. Though it might seem kind of insignificant to a lot of travelers coming to Istanbul, if you're familiar with the history of the city, yeah, you know how important these walls were. They were built during the Roman era. This is one of the reasons why the city was chosen to replace Rome as the capital, because the city was more defensible. It could be more easily walled off and also resupplied by the sea, whereas Rome didn't really have that. And I'm here at my next stop, which is the Palace of Porphyrogenitus. I can't even pronounce it, but it's actually it's an old Roman palace that sits right by the walls. So I thought I might as well check it out. A non-touristy area, so this is actually kind of a good thing, because you kind of get away from all the tourists. It's a little quieter, but you also see a little bit more of the real side of the city. So I think it's really cool. No, this is really cool, because the one cool thing about going to this museum is that you also can check out the walls a little closer, and you can actually get on them. And this old Roman palace was here, right up against the wall. Okay, so let's check out the palace. But what's interesting at this museum is that you always hear the term Byzantine, which, if you're familiar with kind of the history of the Roman Empire, is that the Byzantine or Byzantium, that was a term that was coined, about 2 centuries after the fall of Constantinople. And the reason why it was done, it was by Western European historians to downplay the Eastern Roman Empire, to separate it from the Western Roman Empire, which had fallen over 1,000 years before that. And so one way to differentiate it was to no longer call it the Roman Empire. It was just to call it the Byzantine Empire. And but at the time of the fall of Constantinople, it was really just known as Rome. There wasn't any distinction. Though by then the empire was completely different. There was, the institutions, of course, had changed, but also the language. It was no longer a Latin-speaking empire. It was actually Greek-speaking. Of course, there were people in academia and everything that would still preserve Latin, but not at the level of an everyday language where it was spoken by native speakers. It was just a secondary language of nostalgia and maybe for the clergy. Didn't expect that to actually get a really nice view of the Golden Horn of Istanbul. You see all the mosques towering over everything. Pretty cool. From above. I like how there's a playground for children right next to it, and the walls. Right here it's perfect. You can see the Golden Horn really, really well. And right here you see a perfect view of the Theodosian walls of Constantinople. For Constantinople, it actually had 2 layers of walls. It wasn't just this one that had outer walls and inner walls. But of course, over time, they fell into disuse. Also, they were taken down, especially a lot for building material. But at least it's good that you can still see the remnants of the walls that defended the city for such a long time. Ultimately, the view from here, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, beautiful. I would say this is a really underrated spot here in Istanbul because I haven't seen a single tourist, only actually one couple, and that's it. Otherwise, because this is the only Roman imperial palace left in Rome, because the other one, Topkapi, it was actually an Ottoman palace, not a Roman one. So this is definitely got to check it out. And no, I'm not gonna call it the Byzantine Empire. I'm gonna call it the Roman Empire because that's what it was really called, not just the downplayed version of what it was. Of course, yes, like I said, it changed a lot, but it was still the Roman Empire.
And for my last stop of my Roman tour of Istanbul is the Galata Tower on the north side of the Golden Horn.
This right here is the Galata Tower, which has been here since the 14th century. You guessed it, yes, that is the Roman period. It's about 67 meters tall, and it really gives you that really beautiful view of the city. Right now you can't go to the 8th floor, but this is pretty good still anyway. It's the Golden Horn.
And as you probably guessed it, the Galata Tower was built as a watchtower to guard the city from invasion. With its 360-degree view of the Bosphorus, the city, and the Golden Horn.
Right on the right is Topkapi.
And of course, it's a very good spot for your Instagram or WeChat.
You also get a really good view of the tower from here and of the shops.
Well, that endeth the tour of Roman Istanbul. I really hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And until next time, bye.